been a busy 2022 for you because there's a new Bowling for Soup album. There's the Jaret Reddick album as well. You're always co-writing for other people. So, I think you could use a vacation, but you're going on tour with Les and Jake and the Aquabats. So
yeah, it's I hear that a lot. I was so it freaked me out to not be busy during the quarantine thing. And so I think maybe I might have overdone it a little bit, but new country record is out, new Bowling for Soup record coming out soon. And then I'm actually leaving for the UK to go over with Lit and the Dolly Rots. And then I'm going back to the UK in May for an acoustic tour. And then we start the Less Than Jake summer tour. So there's a lot going on here. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you've now been at this high level in your career, my words, not yours, for 20-ish years. I'm sure there were periods when you're with Jive Records where you're like, is this over? But you personally have always worked with other artists. I remember you had the record label Crappy Records. You co-wrote for other people, Gilligan's Island, that theme song, Chuck E. Cheese, etc. Did you think, like deep down inside, aside from the major label deal, that you would still be here this far into the career?
No, I mean, I knew I would still be doing something, along the lines of what, of that, but Bowling for Soup, no. I mean, I used to joke about it all the time, and I'd be like, it's not like I'm going to be 30 and, doing fart joke songs, then I'm not going to be 40. I'm not going to be 50 and singing about high school, and I'm 50, and we're still doing it. And honestly, it's pretty crazy. And obviously there's a lot of factors involved with the resurgence of pop punk and, the new guys coming up and calling attention to the genre. But our shows are bigger than ever, and we're just, our streams are crazy through the roof. And so, I guess, just age, I guess, really just is a number. But no, I mean, honestly, when I got Chuck E. Cheese 10 years ago, and, we had been dropped from Jive in 2009, and Phineas and Ferb kind of came and then was ending, a few years ago. You just sort of always wonder, like, okay, I mean, how long is this going to make sense to keep doing it? But honestly, I feel like we're on fire right now. I mean, the new album is, I really honestly believe, and I've already heard this, I think people will hold this one near and dear as they do Drunk Enough to Dance and Hangover You Don't Deserve. And not that our newer albums haven't been well received. It's been great, but I think this one is going to be the one where people are like, oh, wow, this is amazing, because it is.
Did you do this one with Linus, or in some capacity with Linus also?
So it was during quarantine, and Linus was being very, very careful at the time, as were everybody, and us too. But we wanted to do a destination album, but we didn't really want to go and do the whole LA thing. We wanted to go somewhere where it would just be us in a studio, and that's what we did. We went to the Poconos. We rented a house a mile away from the studio, and we didn't interact with people. We full on just, this is summer 2020, so everything was hardcore locked down in a lot of places. So yes, Linus, actually, we did pre-production. He and I did all the pre-production for all the songs before we even left, and so we had really good sort of maps to the songs for us to just pretty much just go in and track what we needed to do. And then I sang some of it there, but the rest of it I actually ended up singing once we got home, and just here in my own studio. So and then he actually mixed it. So he started mixing our stuff over the last few years, and so they're definitely the Jarinus touch for sure.
Jarinus was a great record. And is there a collaborator that you've had longer than Linus, aside from Gary on drums?
Gary, Chris, Chris and I, the full 28 years, and then Gary shortly thereafter. But no, actually Zach Malloy would be, because I'm still writing with him. I mean, we wrote songs. I think he has 2 or 3 co-writes on Hangover You Don't Deserve, which is 2004. And we have one together on on the new Bowling for Soup, but he actually produced and co-wrote my entire new country record. So yeah, I got to throw Zach in there as well.
You mentioned Lit a little while ago that you're hitting the road with them. They also dipped their toes into the country water. Coincidence that they also did it around the same time, or did you look at them and went, I can do that too?
No, I had been talking about doing this for years and years. I think, you know, and I think, by the way, I love their country album. You know, I wonder if they look back on it and think maybe they should have done it under a different name or done it under the Pop-Off Brothers or something like that. Because I don't think that it got, in my opinion, I think it should have been way more successful than it is, you know, because I think it's just that good. So I did sort of take from, you know, any and all people that I've seen do crossover things, and just, you know, I that's kind of the reason that I just did it on my own. I think if Bowling for Soup would have done a country record, it would have just been seen as a novelty, whether it was or not. And I really mean this, you know, I'm hoping that this is, as you know, if going back to your first question, you know, I really sort of hope this is another extension of my career, something else that I can be doing, you know, as, you know, if one thing slows down, maybe this one picks up, you know, because I really like making music, and I like entertaining people. And so, you know, but, you know, I wouldn't say that there's any sort of coincidence or anything, any sort of things that lined up there, but I do really, really appreciate everything those guys do.
You never know when there's an A&R guy out there who's just has one good idea and then tries to do it with everyone and everything. Like, you know, not to name his name, but the guy who came up with the A&R concept for Santana's Supernatural tried to do that same exact album with like 10 other artists over the years.
Yeah.
Going, well, it was a diamond selling album once. Why can't it be that way again? I don't know if there was a pop punk / rock guy that was trying to take everyone country. Right.
No, not that I know of. I had this idea a long time ago, you know, because I grew up listening to country, and you know, it's still what we play in the car, you know, when my family's driving down the street. So you know, and outlaw country more than what today's pop country. I do like some of today's pop country, especially like Luke Combs. I think he's great. I love Miranda Lambert, but the cookie cutter stuff I could kind of do without. But you know, I respect anybody that's out there making music and doing something with it, because it's not the easiest industry, no matter what genre you're in, you know.
Well, this is a compliment. There's not like a butt or a backhanded part to it. It's that what I love about Bowling for Soup and have loved about the band for decades is it's kind of like, I love hair metal and metal. I love pop punk. I love comedy, and I love pop culture. And it's always been a gumbo of sorts. The band, you know, there's been some serious songs and serious issues, but it's always been through the Bowling for Soup kaleidoscope. I'm curious when you figured out that you were kind of right, because there's a good number of artists who I do love that go comedy, music, don't put them together, never. But in your case, apparently you were right when you base it on how long you've been successful on this level.
Yeah, I think, you know, and I sort of, I can only answer this question by tooting my own horn a bit.
Deserved.
And that is that I just think I do it in a way to where it's not silly unless it's supposed to be silly. It's, you know, I think everybody thinks it would be super easy to write a funny song that people are going to listen to for years and years and years, and not just once, and there just be this joke or whatever, you know,
right.
And it sort of just like be this thing that you play it for your friends at work and then you never touch it again. So I think it's important to sort of give us that and say credit wise, and, you know, look at us and go, not only have they done it, I mean, we've done it for 28 years and, you know, 12 studio albums and just continue to do it. And so I think it's pretty frustrating for me from a writer standpoint, because I tried to break into the Nashville thing as a country writer many moons ago, 15 years ago or so. And everybody wanted to write a Bowling for Soup song with me. And I was like, I don't really have a problem with that. You know, I can do that on my own. I want to do something else. And, you know, not that they needed me in the room either, but listening to their ideas, I mean, it was really disgusting. It's gross. It was just like, hey, I got this idea for this Bowling for Soup song. Let's do it. Okay. Here, let me pitch it to you. You're going to love it. I'm dating a porn star. What do you think? And I'm just like, that's ridiculous. I actually left a writing session after someone said that to me. I got up and I was just like, hey man, I don't want to be rude, but that kind of offended me a little bit, like it's just not that easy. And so, yeah, we didn't really start out as being, the funny guys. I mean, our first few records that we did on our own, it really wasn't a lot of humor to it. It just sort of gradually inked its way in there and just became, who we are as a band, not only live, but outside of music. And, we're just ourselves. And so I think that's the longevity of it. So long-winded answer. And finally, to get to your point, the reason that we're able to do it is because we mean it, and I honestly don't sit down to write a funny song. I sit down to write a song, and then I don't keep the funny out of it. I mean, if the song wants to be funny, if the line pops in my head and I'm like, hey, here's a ridiculous line, and then I'm like, okay, that actually is really good. I'm going to come back and read that again in a minute, and then I come back again and read it. And I'm like, that's really freaking funny, or, whatever. But, so I'm sorry that that's a long-winded answer, but it's something that I hold really near and dear, is our ability to do that, to write a song that's funny, but also that stands the test of time.
I really like that answer, because most people just think funny is a joke. A joke is funny, that's it. But they don't realize the process of going into it.
Yeah.
With all the success that you've had with songs that had humor in them, did anyone ever try and staff you on a TV show into a writer's room?
No, I would love that though. I mean, so to me, it's funny. God, I feel like you just get me, Darren. I don't know what it is, but like for some reason you sort of have the hand on the pulse of what I do for some reason. I wanted to be a stand-up comic, but I didn't really have I'm from Wichita Falls, Texas. I didn't really have the know-how or we didn't even have a comedy club. So I didn't even have any sort of outlet to it. So what I found is that performing in a band, I could just say funny shit in between. And I got that part and so I got to live that out through music. And even in my bands before this, I would, not to the extent to where like now I can go on for 3.5 minutes without playing a song. And for the most part, the crowd sticks with me on it, but yeah, I mean, that was the dream, and I was an actor as a kid, and I really would have loved to have done. I still would love to do more of that. Obviously with the voice stuff, I at least get to dip my toe. So, right. Stand-up comedy, I kind of get to dip my toe in that by being in a rock band that tells jokes in between songs, and acting, I get to do the voice stuff, but yeah, the writer room, I would have absolutely loved a shot at that, and I still would. I would, if I were given the opportunity. It's not something I would say no to.
Well, the last thing I want to ask you about, because you just went in a place that is going towards a book that I'm slowly writing. And you said, being funny between songs, that kind of a thing. The book I'm writing is about Mr. David Lee Roth. And I always got the vibe that you were a big Roth fan. Am I right or wrong about that?
For sure. But what I love about David Lee Roth is just how David Lee Roth, to me, I do think he's wacky. And he definitely has some stuff going. And I know some stories and some things that, that but he is to being a frontman as Steve Martin is to being a stand-up comic. So obviously I'm showing my age here, but any stand-up comedy fans to go back, and Steve Martin created this character, and he just crafted it, and it bore no resemblance to who he actually is as a person. Like, he's actually a very serious guy, who's just, but he's funny, and David Lee Roth, to me, is the ultimate frontman. I mean, just the fact that, think about it. I mean, like, he just would do karate, for like, and that's insane, but like it worked, and so yes, I do, I love David Lee Roth, and I love the randomness sometimes of just like the lyrics and just sort of even how he mumbles them out. Like it's very hard to like sing a Van Halen song, like you don't believe, try to find the beat, in Panama, like try, what I'm saying? Like try to go do that song at karaoke or whatever, and good luck. Was
there ever a period where you were trying to write Van Halen-ish songs where there was too many notes?
No, because I'm not that talented. I never really learned how to play an instrument that well. I started out as a drummer, and I played drums long enough to get me through school, and then I taught myself to play guitar so I could write songs. But I never sat down and like learned the instrument. And piano's the same way. Like I took 2 months worth of lessons so I could just sort of get around on it, and learn enough to where like if I need to, I can fake it here in the studio, but I play one hand at a time, so there's never really been any danger of me being too musical as far as musicianship is concerned.
And then the last question, I expect the answer to be no to this. You worked a couple albums ago on a co-write with Parry Gripp, who had the song Van Halen.
Yes.
Linus notoriously had a song called Old Van Halen that didn't make the cut and got rewritten. Was there ever a Van Halen song for you or Bowling for Soup?
I think I mentioned them in a song. It's funny. I'm actually looking at my 1985, one of my plaques right now, and it's Eddie Van Halen, and it says, "Look out for Jaret, Eddie Van Halen 04," and it says, "P.S. Motley Crue, classic what? Question mark, more like closet." Anyway, and so, but no, I think that there's, so definitely 1985, but I think there's another thing where I quote them, but man, it's really slipping me. Obviously, you've got a lot of records, but I never like sat down to write a song about, both of those songs are brilliant, by the way. I think lyrically that Van Halen song by Parry Gripp is so freaking good. Like it just, you sort of can go back and listen, like this guy wrote this in like the mid 90s, and like, it's no wonder that he is as massively successful as he is, because it's so just, how Perry is. It's like how Fountains of Wayne are, or were, to rest in peace, but
Adam, another collaborator that you
another collaborator with me, High School Never Ends, actually. And a dear friend, and I really, God, he's missed by this entire industry, but their songs are so simple, but they're so good, and you just are like, man, that's really, really good. Drives me crazy sometimes, like early Weezer, where it's the simplest thing, and you're like, wow, and it's just so impactful, but I got off on a tangent there. I don't think that I've written a Van Halen song though. No.
One day. Well, the bottom line is thank you for your time. Thank you for the years of great music. Looking forward to seeing you live in New York, and just keep on whatever you're keeping on with.
Appreciate you, man. I'll see you in Brooklyn in a couple of months.
Thanks, Jaret. Have a great rest of the day.
Take care, bro. See ya.
Paltrocast.